Well, yeah, good. It's almost noon. Um, yeah, pleased with that. I'm not pleased with that. What's that bit there? Ah, yeah, that's better. Uh, yeah, that's concrete chucked in that hole. It's it caused me to think a little bit about how jobs get prioritised in this emporium, because this was not a priority job, but it sort of became priority. I had a sack of beton in the car. Let me yeah, there we are. Beton universal 8mm Pret a Gâcher. One sack gives you 17 litres of concrete or thereabouts, and the sack weighs 35 kilos. Now, I'm sure someone will correct me, but I'm sure in England the sacks of ready mixed concrete are only 25 kilos. And, you know, it was in the back of the car and I wanted it out of the car, and the bit of shuttering I used is part of a pile of stuff that is now in my way, so I thought I'd better use it, and then after it's been used it can be cut up and become firewood. So it's sort of got to be a job to do today, which is a day when I can't really do too much else because it's wet and damp, and it's not a day for gardening. And that's how things sort of work their way to the next job to do. It needs to sit there for a couple of days to go off before I take the shuttering off. Then I want to start doing some structural stuff, which is partly why there's that pole standing there next to the stairs. That's held on by two soppy little screws at the moment, just to stop it falling over, and gives me an idea as to where the landing is going to be built. That's going to be outside this doorway. But if you've got a job that, you know, after chucking the concrete in, you need to leave it for, well, 2-3 days to go off properly, then jobs that aren't priority sort of, yeah, they get moved to the head of the next thing to do list, by accident almost. Right, the next thing to do is to make a cup of tea. Oh, good afternoon, good afternoon. It's the 11th of December today. Yeah, and I'm looking at another, what might be thought of, out of priority job. This is the corner of the upstairs of the barn, which, you know, I've got various silly ideas that this is going to be the model railway room perhaps. But before it becomes anything, it might want a little bit of something, not priority. But downstairs I've got a half bag, an open bag of enduit, render. And if I leave half a bag of render laying about in the barn in this weather, it will just go off, it will go solid. So it needs using, and that looks like a job that will use it. Well, that's a start. Now, a job like this can't be rushed. You know, some of that is pretty deep, and you need to sort of get some on and then give it a little while to sort of settle down a bit. Coincidentally, the time that needs to settle down is about the same length of time as it takes a kettle to boil. A funny thing that, isn't it? So yeah, let's go and have a cup of tea, then we'll come back and have a go at the next bit. Oh, right, okay. Yep, leave that to rest for a little while. As you can see, I've got to go in quite deep here. And yeah, we'll leave it to rest for a little while, and then we'll see how the light affects me. I've got other things that I should be doing. I should be cutting some firewood. Yeah, I should be plastering indoors and painting indoors and rubbing down indoors and all sorts of things, but as I say, I didn't want to lose this half a bag of enduit. Yeah, happy so far. And I sort of thought I ought to continue teaching you lot French. Yeah, this is what I'm obliged to use on a lot of the job that I'm doing, because the old walls have absorbed better than 100 years worth of all sorts of nasty, smoke and tobacco smoke and all sorts of things. So we use this. This is an undercoat, peinture blanche, white paint, for difficult surfaces. And if you use it, you can still grow a beard, but it will stop the reapparition of your moustache. I think that's what it means. Yeah, it's good stuff, which of course means it isn't the cheapest on the shelf. It's not actually that expensive, but yeah, it's what I need for the walls that I'm working on indoors. Well, here's a nice piece of material. It came out of one of the ceilings I took down, and yeah, I didn't really know what to do with it, but I've just cleaned it, which is what all of these bits are. That's where it had bits of timber that the old lath and plaster had been fixed to, and I've got a use for this, and that is a bit of a priority. Yeah, so I'm going to cut 36 inches off one end, and I'm going to cut, or what did I work it out to, 80 something inches off the other end, and then we're going to use it for something. Not today. I might cut it in a couple of minutes, but yeah. It's been limed, which has preserved it, and where it came from, the bit of ceiling it came from, it had been there 100 years at least. So it ain't exactly a new piece of timber. But there we are. Let's put a saw through it, and then it'll be time to start thinking about dinner. And it's Friday, so it's fish.